Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here. Welcome back, everyone, for more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult. We're going to be speaking today with a friend of mine, CYRIL CHIQUET. CYRIL and I first did an interview together almost 10 months ago. I've put a link to that interview in the description down below, but the name of that interview can be seen right here. Former Scientology Sea Org member, CYRIL CHIQUET. The title of today's video is slightly different. We substituted Sea Org member with another choice of words based on some of the press that CYRIL has been doing in Copenhagen recently. CYRIL's family is holds a very special place in my heart. CYRIL's older brother, Michel, as he was known back then. I think his real name is Didier, but everyone knew him as Michel. He's one of my oldest friends in Scientology. One of CYRIL's sisters, Corinne, is another one of my dearest friends from Scientology. His other sister, Fabienne, I knew less well, but also knew in the Sea organization. And I'm honored to have him here with me today to pick up the conversation where we left off. CYRIL, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. You've been making a little bit of trouble over there in Denmark.
Looks like it. Not on purpose. Not on purpose.
So we're not going to try to rehash the the whole discussion we had the first time. Everybody can watch the first video. I was actually rewatching it today. I'd never even gone back and put in timestamps or chapter breaks on that interview, and we covered so much ground there. I'm going to actually go back and do that and then publish some clips from it. But so we won't try to rehash all of that. But okay, so recently, why don't you explain to me and for the audience what the media has been that you've done recently in Copenhagen?
Well, actually, I was reached out by Berlingske, which is one of the biggest Danish newspapers, and they asked me if I was willing to do an article regarding my time in the Sea Org. And I said, well, yeah, I got nothing else to lose. I already lost everything. Let's do it. And then they interviewed me. They went through my story, and they put an article together. And then they published it. I got to review it to make sure that everything was accurate. And then they published it on the 19th of August. And I had no idea it was going to be front page. I didn't know that 4 pages or 5 pages of the newspaper would be my face on it. I knew they were taking pictures of me for the article. I just didn't know how big it was going to be, but it seemed pretty big. And I was like, okay, holy shit. Well, all right.
I saw the photos. I mean, there's some nice professional photography that they did.
Well, they had a professional photographer that came to take the pictures.
Yeah. You sent me some PDFs of this. Why don't I just show a bit of what you sent me here? See if I can get our faces off to the side. Okay, now what you sent me, the PDF, I wasn't able to automatically translate the PDF or anything like that. But this is the photo I stole for the thumbnail of today's video. How did Berlingske, how do you say it? Berlingske?
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 How
did they...
How to pronounce Danish words correctly.
When they contacted you, how did they know of you?
Via Robert Tam.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for putting me in touch with Robert, by the way.
No worries. I think he's a very interesting story. And
so let's see here. I did actually try to log into the website itself.
You have to pay for it.
To translate it from there, but it's behind a paywall.
Yes.
And then I tried to pay, and it was actually giving me some trouble paying because I'm a
But you should be able to select the text, select it, and then move it to Google Translate.
Yeah. So is this different? Is this a separate article that you sent me here?
So yeah, 2 articles. The first one is about my story, and that came out on the Sunday, the 19th of August. And then this second article is about how do you want to call it, about the follow-up of what the politicians have to say, which I didn't
Really?
expect. I really did not expect that the politicians, quite a few, had something to say about this.
But this follow-up is in a different publication, right? Or is it the same?
It's still in Berlingske, the same newspaper, just a week later.
Oh, wow. Okay, so without trying to regurgitate the entire article for us English speakers, what was the focus of the first piece?
About my story, about how I actually got into Scientology through my family, and how I was quote unquote forced to sign the CEO contract and basically join the CEO. I say quote unquote because technically you're never forced, but also let's say that you didn't have many other options. So in that way, it's kind of forced. Like I never wanted to join the CEO, but when you're in that mentality of the group pressure, the social thing, and all that, it's not something you voice because you know what happens. So it was about that, and then about the way I worked. And I actually had no idea, but it was totally illegal for my age to work so many hours, which I didn't know. So that's a big deal, and that's I think the main point also of the article, that this was illegal.
Wow. You said that they found out about you through Robert Dam. Can you tell the audience who Robert is?
Yeah, so he's a Danish ex-Scientologist. 20 years ago, he's joined in 84, if I'm right. You'd have to ask him, but he has been in Scientology for a very long time, and he left in 2004. And he will have to tell you his story, but basically it was some bullshit on justice, something not fair, and they had to have somebody, a head on a pike. They had to blame somebody, and they blamed him. So he left, and he managed to get his wife also to leave, and then he wrote a book. And then he did a documentary here in Denmark, and then he decided that was it. He didn't want to do anything to do with Scientology anymore. And then recently he got contacted by some ex-SEOG members, ex-children that were in the SEOG back in the days. And the stories that he was being told were insane, that he decided, okay, this has to be known. So he decided to write a second book, which came out last Monday. And together with that, Berlingske contacted me and wanted a story of me, because not many kids from that time wanted to go public or say their name. And so yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm willing to do it. I already crossed the line, meaning like, I already lost my family, I lost my mother, I lost my sisters, uncle, cousin, whatever. I lost it all. So I was like, I have nothing else to lose. I'm willing to speak out. And at the end, if it can help to educate the Danish people, I'll do it. And that was the main thing.
Wow, that is incredible. Am I remembering correctly that, so he wrote this book about all these kids, were kids, no longer kids, but worked for Scientology when they were kids. But these people, they were okay with having their stories told, but they did not want their identities revealed. And that's what
And
the book is.
the fake names in the book. They don't have their real names.
How incredible that he's writing this book telling stories of people who aren't named, but and like the marriage of these two things, of these people's stories being told anonymously, but then your story being told with an actual story, your real face, your real name. Almost, I want to make sure I use the right words here, but almost like, God, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. Like the fact that the book is telling these anonymous stories, and it allows you the opportunity to tell your story in the Danish press. It's just this kind of this yin and this yin and yang to me is kind of incredible. Using a real story, telling it nationally, to kind of speak for all of these stories that are faceless and nameless is kind of incredible to me.
Yeah. And in my understanding, I haven't read the book because the book is in Danish, and I'm not a Danish reader yet. But in my understanding, all these kids' stories is all from the 80s and 90s. And I'm a kid that came in 2004 into Copenhagen into the SEOG. So my story is also a bit different regarding probably their stories, because I've heard stories about back in the days how really bad conditions they were living in, really bad conditions. And I also heard about physical abuse and stuff like that. Now, I didn't experience physical abuse, like I never got hit, but I heard many of my ex-friends today, they told me like, yeah, they got hit. So that book, I think, it's more hardcore than my story.
Incredible. Do you happen to know, well, how did you meet Robert?
After I did the interview with you, what's her name? Karen de la Carrière. She put me in touch with him.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
The people, and I'm just in case you know the answer to this question, the people who told their stories in his book or had their stories told in his book, but didn't want their identities revealed. Is this because they still have familial connections to Scientology, or is it just they don't want to be known as that ex-Scientology person?
I got no idea, but if I had to bet, it would be because they still have connections with family. Once I did the interview with you, I had quite a few people reaching out to me and say, hey, congrats for doing the interview. Like, you got courageous, and just so you know, I'm mentally out, but you know, I have family, and I got several of those, and I was like, wow, there's really quite a few that are like undercover, they don't want to blow up their family. And I really think actually there's a lot of those. So I can only guess that is the case.
I mean, it really is incredible how many of them there are. And you only find out how many there are once you start being out there and people have a reason to reach out to you.
Yeah. I mean, I got people reaching out to me that I was looking up to in the Sea Org. It was a big deal for me. I was like, holy shit, like wow. And it made me very happy because I was like, you know, I looked up to that person when I was in the Sea Org, you know. They were a big deal for me, and I was like, this is like the right way to be a Sea Org member and all that. And here they are on the other side, like, we got totally played, you know. And I'm like, oh, damn, it's nice to know that there are some people that I kind of realized and got out of it. Yeah. I was surprised, but it was good. It was good. I got only good feedbacks from that interview. It was nice.
That's great. I saw somewhere a translated version of the government's or of Scientology's response to your interview. And I got to be honest, even the translated version I saw didn't make a ton of sense to me. What's your understanding of how they responded?
I wish we could translate the article. So first of all, if anybody wants to read the article, I would like to plug Scientology Up North. Miriam, she did a translation video of both articles, and she did a great job. There we go. Yes. She did a really good job at translating it. And I recommend you reading those articles because they're well written. I must also give credit to the journalist, Christina. She did a very good job. She managed to piece some Scientology stuff into it, make it simple, make it so it's understandable and also interesting. They really did a good job on the article. I'm actually very surprised about that. So if anybody wants to, go watch that video. And she also translates the answers from Rosa. There's Annette Refstrup, whatever her name is. There's a picture of her in the article in the PDF, if you want to show her.
Oh, is there? Okay,
yeah, gotta show that face.
Picture.
She has to be known.
Okay, hold on, let me pull this up. Yeah, so I've got the comment from Scientology Up North up on the screen here, and you can see the video that she did on her channel, which is called Scientology Up North, where she basically reads the entire article, translates it into English in real time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Help me out here. This is the right article for me to be looking at, right?
Scroll down. I'm not sure. Just go down. Keep going. It's a big picture. You'll see her face.
Okay. Is that
yes,
her?
That's her.
Annette Refstrup.
Yes.
Refstrup. There she is in all of her glory.
Yes.
So she's the one that responded. What did
she looks younger? She's older now. That picture I think is like 20 years old.
Oh, geez, that's how they get you. Catfishing Scientology edition.
So she responded that yes, I was in the Sea Org, And yes, I was working long hours, but this is the nature of the Sea Org. And comparing it to other religions, the typical same answers that you find, I've read that answer somewhere else. It's not the first time I've seen it. And then she added that actually, because of my sexual, what did she call it? That I couldn't control my sexual habits. I got kicked out of the Sea Org. And when Christina, the journalist, she called me and she's like, I need to tell you her reply. And she's like, that you had you couldn't control your sexual habits, and that's why you got kicked out. And I was a bit like, wait, that doesn't make sense, but okay. Because I give a bit of context. In part of the article, it talks about how when I was in the cadet org, I was masturbating, and it's a no-go in the Sea Org, and I felt really, really bad about it. Like mentally, it was a big deal for me. Like I thought I was going to go on the RPF. You have to think, like, I was innocent at that age. I didn't know much. And I really thought I was going to go on the RPF because I masturbated. And that was a big deal for me. I joined the Sea Org, and of course, when you do the A to J check, this came up. And it's funny because I just saw your video today or yesterday. You're talking about the murder routine to get somebody to confess to a baby. My God, I was in that A to J check for like, I don't know, hours. And she was like, did you try to kill somebody? And she was trying to do everything to me to confess of having masturbated. And for me, it was like the biggest crime I've done was to masturbate. And I felt really, really bad. And it was, I really thought I was going to go on the RPF for it. I thought I was going to be dead, like I'm going to be done. So anyways, fast forward to that, I got married after, so I didn't have that problem anymore. I got married in 2007, and I left in 2009. So in that department, I had a wife, and we had our fun, meaning didn't have to masturbate anymore. Anyway, so when she said that I was kicked out for masturbating, I was like, you stupid. You're so dumb.
The thing, though.
You're so dumb. It doesn't make sense.
Was she specific enough in her statement to make it clear that that was the reason why, or did it make it seem like you were just running around terrorizing the women or something?
No. She just said, and he got kicked out. I can't remember the exact phrase, but the concept was, I got kicked out by the Sea Org because I couldn't control my sexual habits.
Well, I know, but that doesn't necessarily, I mean, hearing that in English words, I do not assume it's referring to doing something to yourself. I assume it's you're running around sleeping with all the women. And I'm just wondering how did the journalist take it?
But when she called me and she told me, she was laughing. She was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, because we both know this wasn't the reason why he got kicked out. Plus, it doesn't make sense because I escaped, and it took me 9 months to escape. So why the hell, if they really kicked me out, why did it take fucking 9 months to kick me out?
Right.
No, that didn't happen. And then the other thing was, what did she say? No, that was actually the only thing she had to say about me.
It says she did not specify. See, you're the only one who would absolutely know that that's what she's talking about, which almost makes me think that that's why she said it.
Yeah, because the article mentions it. It's part of the article. So she can only be referring to the article in that response.
Okay. No. I want to make sure her response is given in the article, right?
Yes.
But you're part of the story of you thinking that that's what it was about isn't in the article, is it?
No, it is in the article.
Oh, okay. I got to read the article in English.
Yeah.
Also,
no, I really recommend to read the article. It's well written.
Even to Scientologists, it would sound insane that a Sea Org spokesperson is saying CYRIL was kicked out of the Sea Org because he couldn't stop doing the solo 2D assist. Even to a Scientologist, they would be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And there's no way that's true.
And if that was really the truth, the Sea Org would be empty.
Right, exactly.
For all the people that are not married, believe me, it will be empty. You know how many times and stories and people go to ethics for the solo 2D assist? I found out that later. when I was in the CIOG, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not that bad to do solo 2D assist. I mean, I thought I was going to go on the RPF, but like it seems like it's an everyday issue. It's like the ethics officer rolls their eyes because, oh, again, it's the same. It's boring. Everybody does it. Everybody that's not married in the CIOG does it, pretty much. So for her to give that answer, I'm like, then the CIOG will be empty. Everybody should be kicked out then.
Yes. In fact, I remember, did you see the interview that I did with Jenny Strom, Jenny Reese? She was the Hasbridge. And yes. She literally had to tell her junior, yes. Can you please stop writing this up as yes. an overt? Nobody cares.
Yes. Yes. But in Europe, like, they do care.
She's like, if you keep writing it up, you're going to keep getting in trouble. But if you stop writing it up, you'll stop getting in trouble. Oh.
It's embarrassing to talk about that, but I guess, I mean, I was 15 years old. What do you want?
Yeah. So Scientology already doesn't have any kind of religious recognition in Denmark, right?
No.
Which makes it really weird to me that the Denmark, Copenhagen is the European headquarters for all of Scientology. Well, in Europe. Is there any country in Europe that actually gives Scientology religious recognition? Do you happen to know?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of, no.
That makes sense. I believe, and everyone can fact check me on this, the reason Scientology is pretending to have such a big presence in Ireland right now, and they've put all that big bullshit organization in Dublin, is because I believe Ireland has a 0% corporate tax rate or something close to it. And a lot of biotech companies are doing what they call a tax inversion strategy, where they move their corporate headquarters to Ireland and they run all the revenue through there. Yeah. And I think even though Copenhagen's like the European headquarters for Scientology, on paper, they probably run all the finances through Ireland. That's my guess. There's no reason to pretend that Scientology is a thing in Ireland, except for the tax rates.
But I would love to know that. I would actually really know the behinds of how they operate, because that is very interesting. A lot of companies are based in Ireland. Like Adobe, for example, the headquarters is in Ireland. A lot of, I think it's standard practices. But I would love to know how Scientology move their money around. I would really like to know that.
Yeah.
So if somebody is good at finding out all this bureaucracy stuff, should do the homework. And
I'm sure it's set up in a way where it's almost impossible to break the corporate veil. But, I sort of feel like if it could be done, it would have already been done. But that's not always true. There might be some really, really curious and competent investigator out there who could do that. That's a little bit above my pay grade. Okay, so that was my entry. No, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to say another thing that Annette Westrup said, that SEAL members are treated very well, and that they're eating, that they get everything taken care of, everything is paid for them, they get dental care, they get all the care they need, and they get pocket money to buy personal items. Mm-hmm. And when I read that, I was also laughing because I told Christina, the journalist, I was like, that my mother, before I lost contact with her, she had holes in her teeth, and she had to write a SSW to get approval to have time off, to get off post, to go to the dentist, to get her holes fixed. And guess who had to pay the bill? My mother.
Wow.
My freaking mother had to pay her own dentist bill. And I confronted her on it, and I was like, the church should be paying for this. You have been in the CIOG for 20 years. This should be paid by the church. And she knew that, and you know how it is. When you really want to get something paid by the church, you gotta fight. And it takes days and weeks and reports, and you gotta fight. And it's super annoying. And at the end, you want to do that fight, or you just pay the bill? And I guess in that case, my mom just paid the bill. And the worst is that she didn't have time to fix all the holes. She still has holes, and she probably didn't go back yet.
Wow. So
when I read that comment from Annette Restrup that they have dental care, I'm like, Jesus. She's like, I would love to confront her in an interview and ask her those questions. Really, she got. She was only willing to respond in writing. She did not want to do any interviews.
That's a smart move. I mean, I wonder if the journalist, I'm sure you're still in touch with her, even the Church of Scientology International does not have somebody that they
Not
put in front of
anymore.
a camera to answer questions. It's all done
It's
in
always been a
writing.
disaster.
Yeah.
It's been a disaster every time. So,
Yeah.
and that's what happens when you keep lying and you're hiding between fake stuff. Yeah.
When is the last time you saw or spoke with your mom?
It was October last year.
When I was reviewing our video, it was jogging my memory a bit. Is that actually, correct me if I'm remembering this, tell me if I'm remembering this correctly. That's actually what prompted you to finally do a video is she had like disconnected from you, but I can't remember what precipitated it. Was it anything specific?
No. Yes and no. So I was in touch with Oza. Oza was trying to handle me, and they were like, they were trying to fix me, and they were like, okay, what have you read that is bad about Scientology, or why blah blah blah? And I didn't want to go into it. And I said, forget it. I'm not gonna say anything. I still have a relationship with my family. I get to see my mother. She can get to see her grandkids. Let's just keep it at that. I'm not interested. I don't want to do Scientology. I don't want to talk to you about it. But she kept insisting. She insisted. And I was like, okay, answer me those. I had 10 stupid questions. And then she never answered those questions. And from those questions, she probably realized that I knew way too much. I was not savable. And probably my mom was told to, hey, you gotta disconnect from him. Right. And my mom never disconnected from me officially. She never wrote to me. She never told me. She just stopped answering. She stopped all. Every time I tried to reach, it was blocked. I even went to the org, and they pretended that she was not there. So the ethics officer comes down and says she's not here. She's on a special project. Tell me, the FSMIC Europe is on a special project. What special project could that be? I left messages and everything. Nothing. So I was like, okay, she's silently disconnecting from me. I lost everything. My sister doesn't talk to me anymore. The rest of my family doesn't talk to me. I try to reach out, they don't. So I'm like, okay, 1 + 1, they disconnected from me. They're just not open about it. So I was like, okay, I decided to do the interview with you.
To me, that story is reflective of not just how Scientology destroys families, but how they aggressively pursue the destruction. So like you were basically telling them, I am totally fine not saying any bad things to people, including you. Like they're like, what's your, they're trying to get you to say something negative. And you're like, no, I'm okay. I don't need to. I'm going to do my thing. You do your thing. I'm over here. You're over there. We don't have to interact. You don't have to worry about, and then they kept pestering until you're finally like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And they go, gotcha. We got him.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many people that I talk to that they have their policy is don't answer the phone, don't respond to text messages, have no contact. And as long as you have no contact, they don't have anything on you.
Yeah, that's correct.
And if the people over there had any sense, they would be like, okay, good. We're going to leave it alone. But that's not good enough for them. They've got to aggressively pursue it. We know he thinks these things. It's not okay that he thinks these things. It doesn't matter if he's saying it to anybody. We know he thinks these things. It's almost like it's literally a thought crime. Your crime is having the wrong thoughts.
Yeah.
And then once you say it or imply that you think it, they don't even have to go through. I mean, these days, Miscavige has, perverted and twisted and altered even what used to be considered standard, whatever, where they don't even have to put it in writing anymore that you're declared. What were you told recently?
Nothing. I got told nada. I actually reached out to the IJC Europe. I don't know what his abbreviation is, but basically the person that's taking care of all the suppressive people.
The Continental Justice Chief.
The Continental Justice Chief Europe. Basically, he's the one you have to contact when you're declared. He's your only contact person, and from him, you got to do some. If you want to get back in good standings, if you want to get your suppressive declare lifted, you got to do some steps. And I asked him, hey, listen, everybody disconnected from me. Am I declared? because I haven't gotten anything in writing. Nobody has told me anything. And his reply was, I understand that you publicly departed Scientology. So your step to come back in Scientology is the A to E step, which is basically the steps you have to do once you're declared. And so he didn't say directly that I'm declared. He implied that I was declared. And I said,
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no. And then I replied back and I said, am I declared? And if yes, where is my declare? If it's not in writing, it's not true. He never replied.
Oh, he didn't respond to that. No. Wow. See, now even that's incredible, because the Continental Justice Chief, if you are declared, is supposed to be the only person in Scientology that you're allowed to and can actually have communication with.
That's correct.
And so to a Scientologist, in my opinion, when I was still in Scientology, if he said, you've publicly departed Scientology, your steps are A to E, that's not an implication you've been declared. That, to me, that's a direct statement. Because the A to E steps are the steps to get undeclared.
Yeah.
And they only apply if you've been declared. So for him to say that, I mean, that's why I love putting information like this out there to the people who are still in the cult. You all know that one of the most important principles from L. Ron Hubbard is, if it is not in writing, it is not true, period. No matter what. No ifs, ands, or buts. No exceptions.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. And so the one person that you're supposed to be allowed to be in touch with, you say, if I'm declared, where is the declare? If there's no declare, why isn't there a declare? If it isn't written, it isn't true. And he won't even communicate with you. Wow. Where did he email that to you?
Yeah, I got it in writing. I got that in writing, yeah.
Wow. Truly incredible. No, so no communication at all from your mom. So I've seen L. Ron Hub cult and Scientology up north out there with some others, because the Sea Org members that work at the Advanced Org in Copenhagen have to walk, like a couple hundred yards to get to where they eat or something like this, a couple blocks?
Yeah, they walk like, I think it's like 10 minutes walk.
And so a 10-minute walk, that's like half a mile. And
yeah, I can Google it right now. They go...
the fact that 3 times a day, all of the Sea Org members on the base are walking down the street, accessible to anyone, is kind of mind-blowing. It's kind of awesome. It's kind of terrible for Scientology.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, have you ever tried to hang out there and see if you could see your mom?
I thought about it. I thought about it many times, but I didn't do it. And I have mixed feelings about it, because I'm like, what would I say to her? And the way I think about it is that my mother, she's 200% in. Like, I had conversation with her. I've said it before. If Scientology is illegal tomorrow, my mother will be hiding in the basement somewhere doing Scientology or trying to save the world. So for her to know that her son is now speaking out and telling my story about Scientology, I can't imagine what she is feeling. She must really feel like my own son is speaking against when I'm working 7 days a week, almost 24/7. Like, I don't know how she's taking it. So, and plus, you know how it goes. You meet, like, Sea Org members would come and go around and take her, walk away. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And maybe one day I'll do it. Maybe. She doesn't even know that I got a second child.
Really?
Yeah. We got a daughter now, and that was born in January. She doesn't know about it.
Wow.
One of the last time I spoke to her, actually the last time I spoke to her, I was like, when is the next time I see you? I would like to tell you something in person. We have some news to give you. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. And she was being weird on that phone call, so I think shit was already going down. And that was that. So she probably understood. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody told her, but she never met her grandchild, the daughter.
Wow. Did she meet your son?
Yes.
How old's your son now?
She's 3 years old.
Wow. Do your siblings that are in Scientology, do they even see your mom?
No.
Right.
No, they don't even see their own mom. Yeah, because we have a different mom.
Right.
We have a different mom.
Because Terry is, you and Terry have the same mom, right?
Yes, the same mom and same dad.
Right.
But my other siblings, my half sisters, half brothers, same dad, but different mom. And the mom is also in the Sea Org, but she's in South Africa.
So one dad, 2 separate moms. The dad's not in the Sea Org. Both moms are in the Sea Org. Both moms don't see any of their kids. God, this is among many reasons, but I'm going to say the main reason Scientology doesn't expand and is shrinking and will always shrink. The fact that Scientology is abusive is not really the reason why it's failing. There's a lot of abusive organizations that actually grow. Mm-hmm. It's this thing. It's the complete devaluation of children. It's the fact that there's no incentive to have children. It's not even considered particularly virtuous to have children. Mm-hmm. It's not considered a good thing particularly. It's just considered a thing. It's not like, yay. Scientology is so expensive that Scientology families can't afford to have children, not because they can't raise them, but because they can't pay for their Scientology. Mm-hmm. And who wants to have a bunch of kids just to send them off to the Sea Org? That's pointless, right?
Yeah, and some of them do.
Well, some of them have kids and then send them off to the Sea Org, but it's not like you'll find a Scientology family who's like, yeah, I'm going to have 10 kids because I want to give 10 new Sea Org members as a gift to L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, it's almost like, because the maternal instinct or the maternal or paternal instinct to have children is totally contrary to the idea that you're just going to give them away. And you're giving them away to an organization where you're almost never going to see them again. You're lucky if you see them a few times a year, and that's if they live in the same. That's if they work in the same city where you live. You know,
exactly.
The complete devaluation of families and children is, I think, the main reason, if not one of 2 main reasons, why Scientology is just doomed. Mm-hmm. And it's hard because I'm glad that they're doomed, but I'm not glad there's this continued destruction.
That's right.
Families.
Yeah. You know? And even if you live in the same city, for me, for example, my mother, she lives in the same city as I live in. And before I got my first child, I saw her very, very little, maybe 5 times a year. And we're talking about like a few minutes and maybe one time a few hours, you know, like even in the same city. Doesn't make a difference if the person is in South Africa or in Australia. It's just this, they overload with work and always busy and they cannot take off and there's always things to do. And it's one of the ways of how you control people, how the high control groups manage to control its members is by keeping them busy.
Yeah. And it's like, because we have kind of the luxury of being out and we can see how worthless it is, what they spend their time doing. It's totally worthless, completely worthless, not really helping anyone. It makes it so sad. Mm-hmm. But even to a true believer, it's like, if they were actually accomplishing a lot and Scientology was growing and they didn't have enough staff because things were so busy, that would be the reason why they could never take time off. But the fact is, when everything's terrible and stats are down and there's not enough public, that's an even bigger reason why they can't take time off. So there's no light at the end of that tunnel.
Oh, there's always a reason. There's always a reason. Even when I had to take a day, when I was fighting to get a Saturday off, because per policy, you can have every second Saturday, if your statistics are up, you can apply to have a day, a Liberty Day. And that application has to go through several people. And any of them can say just no. We have this to do. We are busy. And it was always the case. Busy. Now we got this. Command attention is this. We don't have time. We got to save the world right now. Go. Looking back at it, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's right. Me mentioning the lack of religious recognition in Denmark was a lead into the question of the response from the government to this press coverage.
Yeah.
Are they talking about doing an official investigation? Are they talking about considering bringing charges? Are they talking about just doing some parliamentary hearings? What did they say?
Again, you have to look at the English version of what the translation of it. But in my understanding is like both sides of the political parties wanted to have Scientology investigated, and they want to bring it to the parliament. And they're like, this is unacceptable that this is happening in Denmark, that kids are working over hours, it's illegal. And even one guy said, like, we know that they're brainwashing their members, even adults. We got to do something about this. This can't be happening here in our society. So the response was like, okay, people are interested in looking into it, or they want that Scientology is being looked into it. And a big part of it, I think, is also there's so much more knowledge about Scientology today. I don't think that my article would have come out 20 years ago. I don't think we would get the same response. I think it's a big, what do you want to say? The fact that you have protesters, you have documentaries, you have your channels, you have people mentioning Scientology as a joke in mainstream media. I think this has really started to educate the people everywhere around the world that have access to the internet. And the Danish people know about Scientology, and they know exactly what they are for, and they don't join. I mean, this is the headquarters in Copenhagen, and there are very, very little Danish Scientologists. Very little. Like, they have the ideal orgs beside the biggest walking street of Europe. They have like the best location. They have the management organization here. They have the service org here. And yet there's very little Danish people. So I think all this helped for the people, and especially for the politicians, to understand that this is a high control group. They're destructive. They brainwash. They disconnect families. They only have bad reputation. They lie, and all those things. And reading that article, if you, I wish I could translate it for the audience.
I'll do a separate video tomorrow about it.
All right, cool. Because it's cool and it sounds promising. Okay, wow, there's reach. The government doesn't want to let that go by. They want to go and look into it. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is great. I didn't think I would get we would get a response like that. So I really hope that those are not just words and that action are gonna happen here in Denmark.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's put out a little bit of a call to action. If the government's going to be looking into this, you know that Scientology's response is going to be, that was ancient history. We don't do that anymore. And they say that for everything. So
yeah.
There's
no more happy anymore. Don't abuse those people anymore. But you did before. What about taking responsibility for what happened, not for how it is now?
Well, they're going to say we don't do that anymore. But it's not actually true. And they'll hide all the current people. They'll probably do a pretty good job hiding anyone who would currently fit that criteria. But I think the best way to counter that is to show a pattern of consistent behavior on their part. So and I'm sure Robert is already in touch with a ton of people who could tell stories about working as underage slave labor for Scientology. But anyone out there who had a personal history in Denmark or knows of others who have, regardless of how long ago, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, working underage kids, working Sea Org schedules, 90 to 100 hours a week. Please feel free to reach out to me, growingupinscientology@gmail.com. Is there a way that people can reach you that you share publicly?
Most people have reached out to me via Instagram.
Okay. I'll put a link to your Instagram profile in the description down below. And so that way, when these hearings or these investigations begin, we will do our best to flood them with as many stories. And so eventually, if you have all these stories of people from times past, eventually the government's going to have to go, so tell us exactly when you stopped using children for labor. When did you stop this practice? I object.
By the way, another part of her response, Annette Restrup, the other chick, she says that we don't do that anymore. We don't have any more underage CIRC members.
Right.
And I'm like, I find it hard to believe that. And they're probably shipping them off right now. Whoever
They
is there.
probably are.
Yeah.
They're shipping them to Ireland.
Damn.
I think they have a little Sea Org unit in Ireland now.
I think that's so powerful. Why Scientology up north and L1 cult, sorry, I don't know his YouTube channel anymore, go there in the street and film all those SING members, film them passing by, walking by, because then you see the minors, you see the kids, and you see the olds as well.
Yes.
I've seen the other day, I saw a lady that I used to know, and she's like walking, like struggling walking. I'm like, Jesus Christ. She's old and she has to do this walk every day.
I saw
They don't look
an
healthy.
Instagram video today of a cruise ship captain doing a little video with the captain of the Free Winds, Mike Napier. He's ancient. Now, he looks a lot older than he is even, but he's 75 years old.
Wow.
For a Sea Org member. That's pretty old. When the captain of the Free Winds dies, how is Scientology going to get another captain of the Free Winds? There's a reason he's been the captain all this time.
Yeah.
He's the only guy in Scientology capable of being the captain.
He's 75 and he's still a captain.
He's 75. He's been on that ship for like, is it 38 years? Something like this?
Impressive. He's still alive with all this asbestos, or whatever it's called. What
Yeah,
do you call it?
he does not look good. And yeah, that is just one more amazing benefit of the protesters outside of Sea Org bases.
Yeah.
Showing what's there, showing who's there, showing the kids.
Also, I've been looking for my other sister that is in Los Angeles, that is in the Sea Org at SMP. You remember Lara?
Who's that?
She's the I talked about it in my interview with you. She's the one that does all the Photoshop, that edits all the pictures for the ideologues, all the pictures with Miscavige, all the pictures. She's like she photoshops
How do you spell
everything.
the name?
Lara, Lara.
Oh, and last name CHIQUET?
So officially, her last name is Willie because she has a different father, another father.
Oh, so she's your half sister as well.
Yes, she's older than me.
How do you spell Willie?
Wyllly. No, Willly. But in the Scientology world, she's known as CHIQUET.
She is. Okay.
Yes, passport-wise, she is Willie. Scientology world, she is known as CHIQUET because my father was supposed to adopt her, but it never happened, and because I don't know why. Then it was CHIQUET, and then she got married a few years ago. She got married to a Mike Mervin, an American guy. Then her name became Lara Mervin, but she was forced to divorce him because he wasn't qualified.
Oh.
Yes, so she had to divorce him, and at the end, I don't know which name she kept. I think she goes under Lara Mervin or Lara CHIQUET. Anyway, she's an SMP, and she also disconnected from me, even before my mother disconnected from me. And I was always hoping to see her in one of those SEAL members walking by in the LA protest.
She's the one that was going to come to your wedding and canceled last minute.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. She lives in the Hollywood Test Center, in that building.
She lives right at the HI? Is that what they call that? The HI, I think?
Don't know the name.
The Hollywood Inn, the test center?
Yes. The test center has been closed for 6 months or 7 months.
It's true, but those Sea Org members still have to come and go to get to their rooms.
Yes. And I just wish somebody would film them.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So the statements that have been made by the government over there, Is there any sort of a timeline for when they might do a thing?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Are you working
Pretty
on
much the
learning
response
how to
was,
speak Danish?
I know how to speak a bit of Danish. It's just I'm not confident enough to have those official talks.
Okay.
Also, when I went on the TV after the article came out and the book of Robert Dam came out, they asked me to come on TV, on Danish national TV, and I was like, sure, but I can't respond in Danish. So they let me respond in English. They asked me the questions in Danish, and I responded in English.
Is Denmark one of those countries where pretty much everybody speaks English anyway?
In Copenhagen, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the big cities, yes. Yeah. Most of the Danes, when they realize you don't know how to speak very well Danish, they just switch to English automatically, which makes it even harder to learn Danish.
Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, my friend Nathan, who I did a bunch of interviews with on my channel a couple of years ago, he moved to China, and his girlfriend is like mainland Chinese person, and he's like, "This is great. I'm going to learn Chinese." And he's like, "I don't know a lick of Chinese, and she's fluent in English now."
Yeah, and also my wife is Italian, so we don't speak Danish.
Oh wow!
But my little 3-year-old is starting to speak Danish to me sometimes. So he speaks 3 languages. I speak French to him, and my wife speaks Italian to him, and he learns Danish in daycare. So sometimes we switch around the languages, so I get to learn a bit with him.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, that's pretty exciting. That's very exciting that they're looking into that. And the thing that they're looking into is specifically this illegal use of child labor.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big part of the article. That was basically, it was illegal for me to work as a serial member when I was 15, 16, 17. I was underage.
What would be the legal age? Is it 18?
I'm guessing. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. It is torrentially downpouring here, and I'm hoping the power doesn't go out, because if it does, our internet signal is going to go out. So this might be a good time to wrap it up. But you know what? While Barb's in the back office starring comments, can we go through some of the comments that she starred?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see. Kylie says, you said that Scientology is the biggest in Denmark, right? Is the anti-Scientology movement just as big over there? I think Kylie's referring to, in one of my Q&As recently, I said that it's possible that in all of Europe, there's more Scientologists in Copenhagen than in any other European city, just because of the location of the AO and the CLO and the org. But even
because
then,
of the CIG members.
Because of the Sea Org members, exactly. But the question is, the anti-Scientology movement just as big over there? I don't know how you would measure that. I think Elron Hub, like when you think of the anti-Scientology movement in Denmark, what names do you think of?
I think about those 2, yeah. Scientology up north and L1 Hub Cult.
And then Robert Dam, I would put on that list, right?
Yeah. So I have to be fair. I'm busy. I work. I have 2 kids. They asked me to come and protest, and I didn't have time to do it. Even though it would also take a confront from my part to actually stand in front of that building and protest. And I would like to do it. I would like to, but I really don't have the time at the moment. So I don't know everybody that's protesting, and I don't have.
Oh, no,
I don't.
But to be clear, though, you don't have to be a protester to be part of the anti-Scientology movement. You know.
No, that's true.
And protesting isn't for everybody. I mean, if it was for me, I'd be out there every day, but I'm not. You know. But I guess I'm trying to think. There's some people I'm thinking of, but I think they're Swedish, not Danish. I would say the anti-Scientology movement in Denmark is probably relatively small.
I think people are quiet about it. And I think once people start speaking up, I think that would be, then you will see how big it is. Because the Danish mentality, they don't want to offend people. They're very polite. They will not tell you you're brainwashed. They will respect you and say, okay, I understand. And, they don't want to instigate any arguments. But the Danish society know exactly what Scientology is, and they're totally brainwashed, and it's it's sad.
Irina Posner. Few people who join the Sea Org want to join the Sea Org. Probably even more true in Europe than in the United States. The States. I don't know if that means the United States or in.
Yeah, I guess she means the United States.
Yeah, it's true. Most people who join the Sea Org don't really want to. Now, obviously, they get pressured to the point where they agree to. But it's like people are not walking into the Sea Org recruiter office and saying, "I'd like to sign up." You know,
it's the same with events. Nobody wants to show up to those events.
Yeah.
They have people calling to get you to come to the event. And once you say, okay, fine, I come to the event, they'll call you the next day to reconfirm, are you coming to the event? Yes, I'm coming. And the day before the event, they'll call you again to reconfirm. I mean, if Scientology was so successful, why the hell do you have to beg your parishioners or your Scientologists to come to an event? You should be selling tickets, and you should be like, we don't have place anymore. And like, okay, I'll buy a ticket for a higher price. Like, come on, man, it's the opposite. It's just a sign of, it's a begging culture. It's a begging culture, and it's the same with the Sea Org. That's why they start to try to get people in less fortunate countries to join the Sea Org.
Yep. That's why we need a Spanish language SPTV channel. I've got some, there's 2 people who are interested in doing it, so it'll happen soon. Let's see. This was from earlier, so we might have already covered this. Can you name the author again? I understand it's probably not available in English.
The author of the article?
No,
or the book. Robert Dam. And his first book is available in English because it did well in Denmark. And his second book is called Darkness in Hotels, I think.
It is? Serge is going to be so excited.
Yeah, it has hotels in the title. The Darkness of the Hotel. And it's in Danish only at the moment, but if it does well, it will be translated in English.
I'm trying to quickly pull up the book on Amazon, assuming that it's there. What was the name of the first one?
The first one.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the title that you just gave was the second one, not the first one, right?
Yeah, that was the first one. The second one, sorry. I think the first one is called The Defector.
Okay. Is it DAMM?
For
his last name?
DAM, yeah. I got a picture of it.
Oh.
So, Dark Hotels, Children's in Scientology.
I found it. I found it on Amazon. Oh, it looks cool. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up.
But you know what? You should interview Robert. Okay, that's the first book, The Defector. Yes.
Yeah, I want him to sell a lot of both of them.
So you should interview him, and he will tell you all about both of his books, and he should also tell his story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially
if the second book's available in English, but the first book's not, then promoting the first book is just as good.
The first book got good reviews. I think it had a very good start. So in the future, most probably it will get translated.
Awesome. Irina Posner says, I also heard stories that it was worse in the 80s. I think some things were worse, but some things were better. Like the freedom that Sea Org members had in the earlier days was much more free than what they have now.
Yeah, I could agree to that.
And when it says I heard it was worse, I'm actually not sure which parts of it would be worse. I don't think physical abuse was worse.
The living conditions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The living conditions has been quite disgusting.
Eminem says, my husband and I know these ex-Sea Org kids that the book is about. Wow.
Interesting, because they're not known. Like he doesn't tell who they are for their own protection.
Wow. Let's see. Marilyn Honig says, I might be wrong, but isn't Scientology considered a religion in the UK, even though it doesn't have charitable tax exempt status?
I think they can only do weddings, right?
Yes, I think, Marilyn, we think of these terms differently in the US than they do over there. I think the fact that they are allowed to perform weddings might sound like that means they're considered a religion, but I don't know that those two things necessarily mean the same thing. But what do I know? I grew up in a cult. Okay, let's see. But it is true. They don't have tax exempt status. They can perform weddings. Let's see. Nisa says, did this country consider talking to the UN and see what their outlook is and see if it's compatible with our constitution, along with any loophole? We wouldn't know the answer to that question, but I think it would be very interesting for the Danish government to know how Scientology uses the UN Declaration of Human Rights as almost its little in-house motto, its slogan. Like, it uses that as this popular campaign. It can run around giving out booklets to pretend like we advocate for human rights. We advocate for human rights. Scientology would probably say that no other organization in the world has worked harder or spent more money or had more volunteers spreading the word of the UN Declaration of Human Rights than Scientology has. And it stands in stark contrast to using child slaves.
They're fucking hypocrites. Sorry for my language. They're hypocrites. They're so hypocrites because they promote human rights, but then they don't follow themselves, and they actually abuse that. And actually, that was actually one of the points I brought up with Oza, because when I was in the sea yoga, like, I had no privacy. They were like going through my cupboard. They were like, and many other things. They don't respect one bit of human rights. They promote it, but they don't respect it. They also promote family, but they don't respect it. They don't do shit with family.
Yeah.
They are very a PR church that hides behind all this PR stuff. But if you really look into it, they're sick. They're hypocrites.
I totally agree. This next comment is very interesting because I think this sort of speaks to the kind of strong collapse and deterioration of even basics of Scientology itself, resulting in them violating their own rules because they think they have to for survival. So, like, I think the information age and the age that we live in has become so saturated with true information about Scientology that they can't even stick to what this question refers to here. Whatever happened to the policy of good roads, fair weather? Why and when did it go from zero straight to complete disconnection? This is such a great question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's your understanding of how would your mother's relationship be with you if it had been good roads, fair weather?
Fake. Fake. Which is also annoying to have, actually. But better than nothing. But it is a bit annoying because it's so superficial, and then you don't have real conversation, and there's no real meaning, and it's almost like a pretense. And I get tired of pretending. It's exhausting to pretend. It's really exhausting.
Do you remember the reason for good roads, fair weather?
Not specifically, but it was to keep the PR well, to not stir up anything, so the sea stays calm.
It was to keep sparks from flying because of if disconnection would really make sparks fly, is I think the actual words from the reference. But then also, additionally, to keep in the PR.
Yeah.
It was like disconnection was supposed to be used in a case where there was very serious antagonism, active antagonism and suppression, make wrong, trying to make less of Scientology, trying to make less of the person, handling wouldn't work. And it said, normally, if disconnection wouldn't make the sparks fly in the person's life, then you do disconnection. But otherwise, just do good roads, fair weather. And like you said, that can be exhausting, having to deal with someone who's just being fake with you all the time. But at least it's a mother being able to talk to her son, right?
I'm sorry. I'm just sending. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sorry that I was looking away. I'm sending you something because I found LOH policy. I just sent you a screenshot of it. It was written in 15th of November 1968 that says that now that we have all the technology, we don't need disconnection anymore because we know how to handle it. So therefore, disconnection is cancelled. That's an Eldridge policy.
I'm going to try to bring this up on the screen if I can work a little magic here.
I try to use that policy with my half-sisters, and I say, why are you disconnecting from me when there's a policy letter that says that disconnection is cancelled?
Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. Since we can now handle all types of cases, disconnection as a condition is canceled. This was 1 year after the Sea Org was created. I wonder when the Australian inquiry was going on, because there were some things that L. Ron Hubbard put into writing that he knew it was BS. Everyone knew it was BS, but he put it into writing to throw the Australian government investigators off the scent.
Okay.
Let me ask ChatGPT. When was the Australian? Wait, when was Scientology banned in Australia? Let's see what ChatGPT says. It says it was not outright banned, but it faced legal challenges in the 60s. In 65, the state of Victoria passed the Psychological Practices Act, which effectively banned the practice of Scientology. In 1983, the laws were overturned. Okay, so I don't know if this policy had to do with that or not, but it is interesting.
It also makes sense. If you think about it as a Scientologist, you have the technology for everything. I mean, you can handle anything.
Right.
You should have thousands of members. You should have no seeing members doing solo 2D assist. You should have no disconnection. You should have happy families. Everything should be flourishing and prospering if you have all the technology. So, did Aaron go out?
We're back.
Hey!
Can you hear me okay? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back. We come back.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you were talking about how disconnection doesn't make any sense.
Yes, if they have all the technology, then everything should be a wonderland in Scientology, but it's the opposite.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, let's see. Oh, Rosie Dozy. I was declared and I didn't know it. No calls, no nothing. I found out 2 years later. Scientology sucks. Wow. Vegan 3 says, how many Scientologists are there in Ireland? 87 people. After all, it's tiny, though it claims a membership of millions worldwide. Yep. Amber Vanass says, Aaron, do you remember when they had amnesty for everybody and everyone was supposed to get off the RPF and all freeloaders debt was lifted and all SPs are not supposed to be declared? I think there's been more than one amnesty over the years. The last one I knew of was 1993 when Scientology got its IRS tax exemption back.
I never heard of one.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were declared. No, yeah. Something like that.
I don't think he would do that ever again, Miscavige.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He's not the type.
Irina Posner says, Mervin, name sounds familiar. Did he have a sister?
Like everything in the Sea Org, you don't know nothing. I only knew she was married. I met him once because of the Ideal Org. I think here in Copenhagen, when the Ideal Org in Copenhagen opened, I think I met him for like a few minutes. And no other information. One day I get a call from my sister and say, oh, by the way, just so you know, I divorced Mike because he's not qualified. I got a lot of sessions. I'm fine now. In my head, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is for real. Brainwashed to the core to be thinking like that. And that's all what I knew.
Wow. Incredible. Abuses of Scientology says, yes, Captain Napier has been there since at least 1987. His infant son was raised by various untrained nannies, Sea Org members. That child suffered. It was horrible. Yeah.
The kids don't deserve this. Kids do not deserve to grow up in this environment.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
I think Mike Napier's kid is actually out of the Sea Org, but still in Scientology. Yeah.
You know how much damage this does to a kid to grow up in such an environment. Even for me, I was not even born there. I entered the Sea Org, the hardcore world of Sea Org when I was 14, 15. But I did grow up as a Scientologist, like my mother raised me as a Scientologist. But people that were born there, the mentality, you don't realize. Even today, I'm still having cognitions of things. I'm like, oh my God, I never realized that. It's like about what you said about who are your friends. You never think it logically until you talk to people, you look at other viewpoints and like, oh, holy shit, but this is crazy. And all these kids, I mean, I have a lot of friends that were in the Sea Org in Copenhagen, that were in the cadet in Copenhagen. And I feel so sorry for them because, yeah, I don't know how to say it. They're less fortunate. They are less fortunate. They're less lucky. I consider myself lucky.
Yeah, it's terrible. Et voilà.
Et voilà.
Et voilà.
Et voilà.
AKA Brigitte. Aaron, in Europe, people are still scared. People are still scared to speak up.
Yeah.
Thank you to CYRIL to get his story out. Et voilà.
Et voilà.
Et voilà. Scientology up north. Aaron, you have all the articles in your email now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Miriam.
SA, there's another policy. Maintain friendly relations with the public at all times. It's in the PR series. Yeah, that's true.
You're going to find so many contradictions with Mr. Lafayette policies. It doesn't make no sense.
Last one that we're going to take up here. Jeff Augustine says Scientology Moscow sued in the European Court of Human Rights in 2021. The Putin regime retaliated and declared Scientology undesirable. The FSB monitors the cult. Interesting. Well, how about we wrap it up there before the power goes out again?
Sure.
We made it through. Thank you for doing this with me. And
sure.
It's just so awesome what you're doing out there. And thank you for that.
You know what? I didn't have a choice. Oza brought me here. So you have to thank Oza.
Thank you, Osa. And thank you to the number one sponsor of SPTV, David Miscavige. Thank you, sir. Without you, none of it would be possible. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end. And
thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right